Hundreds of indigenous cultures all around the world believe that as we enter 2012, a prophesized and long-awaited shift in consciousness occurs, furthering evolution of the human mind and spirit. The fact of the matter is, we have slowly been shifting towards this evolution for quite some time now, and even as you are watching this, the consciousness absorbs new information with each passing moment of each passing day. This shift of consciousness is linked with the galactic alignment, as our planet and its solar system crosses a gravitational plane. This ancient prophecy is more evident in no other belief system than in Mayan culture, a civilization which had such advanced knowledge and philosophies that even the time we use to calculate our minutes and years today is not as precise as the system they had constructed. And as the Lord said, and many Catholics and Christians can attest to this, only the truth will set us free. From a personal viewpoint, I know I've certainly felt a change within myself as of the last few years. Sure, it can be argued that I've just matured naturally, but it is the psychological way that I have changed, and the particular events and reasonings that have transpired in my life that have caused me to even notice and realize what has truly taken place. So, assuming that I'm not the only one who has felt this change within my soul, let's examine current global events and try and see if this has anything to do with how each of us as individuals may be feeling at this current state in historical events. Well, the headlines of the newspapers are all talking about massive protests happening in various locations in the Middle East, and it says that they're all unhappy with their current leader and want him removed, stating that they're not free and under rule by some dude named Mubarak's dictatorship. Let's take a look at what some of the news reports are showing us, and then afterwards, I'm going to show you what's really happening behind the scenes, the things that the government doesn't want you to see and they're not reporting in the news.
When you hear Lama Hassan, and you, as she said, unprecedented. We've never seen this in Egypt, shutting down the country like that.
We haven't seen it in Egypt, but we've seen it elsewhere where they've had these similar demonstrations, Iran, Tunisia, etc. So this is now standard operating procedure from these governments who know that it is social network that is the principal organizing factor for these demonstrations.
So if the media is saying that Facebook is the principal factor behind the organizing of these revolts, then that's probably why there's been a lot of talk lately about the internet being shut down. Could this really be true? Can they really shut down the internet? The truth is, they've been planning this for quite some time now, and here's the proof.
You have an internet bill. It's been called the kill switch bill that would allow the president to seize control or shut down portions of the internet if the U.S. was under some sort of cyber attack. I don't know if you've seen the internet lately. There's a lot of people out there who think that what you are granting the president is absolute power to shut down freedom of speech. I mean, this is just over the top.
No way. And total misinformation. I don't know whether people are intentionally peddling the misinformation. Here's the fact. Cyber war is going on in some sense right now. Our civilian infrastructure, the internet that runs the electric grid, the telecommunications grid, transportation, all the rest is constantly being probed by nation states, by some terrorist groups, by organized criminal gangs. And we need this capacity in time of war. We need the capacity for the president to say, internet service provider, we've got to disconnect the American internet from all traffic coming in from another foreign country, or we've got to put a patch on this part of it. The president will never take over, the government should never take over the internet. Listen, we've consulted, Senator Collins and I are proposing this bill with civil liberties and privacy experts. This is a matter of national security. A cyber attack on America can do as much or more damage today by incapacitating our banks, our communications, our finance, our transportation as a conventional war attack. And the president, in catastrophic cases, not going to do it every day, not going to take it over. So I say to my friends on the internet, relax. Take a look at the bill. And this is something that we need to protect our country. Right now, China, the government, can disconnect parts of its internet in the case of war. We need to have that here, too.
speaking of U.S. lawmakers, they now want to build a cybersecurity army. The House passed a bill to recruit more cyber warriors and to start a new agency to deal with the growing alarm over the United States' vulnerability online. But it sparked concern that this may infringe on people's privacy. Radio host Alex Jones joins us live from Texas. He's one of these people who's concerned this will do more harm than good. Mr. Jones, thanks for joining us. Why are you concerned about this?
Well, I'm concerned because almost a year ago, Obama's new head of cybersecurity resigned. This is in the Washington Post, saying the Pentagon is taking the internet over. So they're telling the public it's to stop Chinese and Russian cyber attacks that are basically non-existent. That's just the cover. It's a false flag. The real architecture of this is the NSA and the Air Force are building more than a dozen centers around the country, one just a few miles from me here in Austin and San Antonio, that are spying on the American people with Google, that are tracking everything we're doing. The United Nations, that's controlled by the big central banks that run our nation, have called for a net ID or internet ID more draconian than Chinese net censorship. Australia, Italy have passed draconian internet laws that are more oppressive than even China. So what's happening is, and Cass Sunstein, the White House regulations czar, has written 2 white papers saying this, the system is discredited. The mainstream TV in our country, the mainstream newspapers are literally going bankrupt because no one believes them anymore about greenhouse gas, ClimateGate hoaxes, swine flu hoaxes, banker bailout hoaxes, government health care hoaxes. The people are awake, and so Northcom and Homeland Security are mirroring what's happening in England, Australia, and Italy, and coming in with net surveillance and an attempt to set up Internet 2 to restrict free speech. Time magazine is calling for restricting free speech right now. So the unthinkable is happening. The so-called Western democracies are falling into Hitlerian or almost Lenin-esque censorship and tyranny. It's really happening, but the genie is out of the bottle. The train has already left the station. The people are aware of the New World Order's criminal activities, their hoaxes, and it's not going to work. So cybersecurity, according to the former head of it, who valiantly resigned, is a Orwellian police state takeover of the internet, because the people are communicating with each other and exposing the corruption and saying no to the fraud. Our corrupt government is illegitimate and is aware that a peaceful renaissance, a revolution of awakening and understanding, similar to what happened in the lead up to 1776, is taking place. The American people are kicking out the oligarchs that other nations have kicked out in Africa, Latin America, and in Russia. We are not the slaves of a bunch of offshore banks, so they want to shut the web down, but it's too late for them.
Okay, but Mr. Jones, with respect, I mean, cybersecurity is clearly an issue. Identity theft is on the rise. It's huge. I mean, look what happened in Brazil, where the whole electric grid was shut down via the internet. The United States would be irresponsible to not be looking more into fighting cybersecurity or protecting cybersecurity, right?
We have had staged terror attack after staged terror attack. There have been many fake cybersecurity crises created. And bottom line, we have the former head of cybersecurity last year saying it's a takeover of the internet. We have the White House saying they may shut down the internet during emergencies. This is a pretext. This has nothing to do with true cybersecurity. This is censorship. This is control in the White House's own internal documents. So they use the excuse of outside threats as a way to come in and try to shut down the internet that our country created. And so, no, I don't agree with these fake, made-up crises. It's a complete fraud. Cybersecurity legislation, in the legislation, is a takeover of the internet by Homeland Security and the Pentagon. That is the basic facts. As Benjamin Franklin said, those that give up liberty or security deserve and get neither. And so this is crisis creation over and over again to take control of our society.
So could this really affect our internet too, here in North America, and all over Europe? And Asia as well? Australia? This is pretty serious then. Why would they want to block communication coming out of Egypt? I wonder what subversive images they're trying to hide from us. Let's take a look at some more news footage. Maybe we can find the answers to why the world's internet connection is at risk of being disconnected. Wait a minute, this isn't a news clip. This was filmed by some guy from his hotel room window. Let's check it out anyways. And now let's take a look at a video taken directly from the bridge. Just giving you a warning though, this video may shock you. In similarity to the G20 protest in Toronto, Ontario, during the first couple of days of struggle, Egyptian protesters were targeting banks and Western influence establishments, like you see in the instance involving this particular Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. If you've ever watched the documentary, Where in the World is Osama bin Laden?, you will understand that the Egyptian people want nothing to do with the capitalism that represents the West. They fear that United States policy is infiltrating their culture under Mubarak's dictatorship. And if you've ever been to Egypt, you can clearly see a line of division between the rich and the poor. This is what the Egyptian people are fighting for. This is why they fight for their freedoms. That same day, we heard nothing about the man we just saw get shot on the bridge during the news reports. In fact, I recall the media reporting that the people and the army were joined together in helping each other.
As night fell in Cairo, more than 2,000 demonstrators marched down a major downtown boulevard. Dozens of riot police charged the crowd. They used tear gas and beatings to break up the gathering. Egyptian security officials say they've rounded up nearly 900 protesters since Tuesday. The demonstrators are calling for the ouster of President Hosni Mubarak, who has been in power nearly 30 years. They also railed against poverty, rising prices, and unemployment.
As we monitor this situation carefully, we call on all parties to exercise restraint and refrain from violence.
At the State Department, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said the U.S. supports the right of Egyptians to express themselves.
We believe strongly that the Egyptian government has an important opportunity at this moment in time to implement political, economic, and social reforms to respond to the legitimate needs and interests of the Egyptian people.